Zootopia 2 left several questions unanswered, which means you need to get ready to watch the third movie that's on the way. Are you ready to find out which mysteries will finally be solved with Zootopia 3? Birds. Everyone is wondering where the birds are in the Zootopia universe, especially now that we've seen the post-credit scene from the second movie. After the whole story ends, there's a moment where Judy Hopps is listening to a recording from Nick, but the important part happens in the very last scene, when a bird feather falls near our protagonist, Detective Carrot. That means that, in the next movie, we're going to watch an adventure involving birds. But there's a problem. If this mysterious bird is in Zootopia, then where have the birds been hiding since the first movie? That question will be answered in the next few years when Zootopia 3 hits theaters. So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. Another Cinewave is starting. Mr. Sheep. One of the biggest mysteries in Zootopia is about the father of former Mayor Bellweather. This character was supposed to be named Wooly, and he would be a spy sheep working undercover in a place that was important to his daughter's plans. Unfortunately, the creators didn't continue with that idea because they thought it would reveal the big twist of the movie too early, and there wouldn't be any surprise. But the truth is that Disney even made concept art of him, and the character would have been very interesting. When Zootopia 2 was announced, everyone thought Bellweather's father would sneak into the prison to break his daughter out, but that's not what happened. It was Nick Wilde who accidentally freed her, but the mystery remains. Will Mr. Bellweather appear in the next movie? Amphibians. If reptiles appeared in Zootopia 2, then we'll probably meet the amphibians in the next adventure. That's because, in the scene where Judy and Nick are at the bar looking for a lizard, we can see a sign that says, Mr. Toads. That's an amphibian, which means everybody knows frogs exist in the Zootopia universe, and they probably live near places with lots of water, most likely somewhere around the swamp area. But since it's already been confirmed that the next story will focus heavily on birds, it's possible that the amphibians will only show up in the background, without going too deep into the lives of frogs and salamanders in this universe. Even so, we still want to see if they're living somewhere in the animal city. What do you think? Carnivores. Since the beginning of this universe, there's been a question that needed an answer, but Zootopia 2 skipped it again. Do you know what carnivores eat? The very first scene of the first movie shows a story where predators hunt and eat herbivores like Judy. Even though they're all mammals, some animals eat plants and others need meat. And yes, we know that in this universe the characters behave like humans, but there's a problem. From the start, we've known predators once attacked prey in the past. But does that mean lions and tigers became vegetarians? The question that fans can't stop thinking about is, what do predators eat? If they still eat meat, then what animal does that meat come from? This needs to be answered soon because a lot of people think predators might still be hunting smaller animals, or maybe they invented a way to survive without meat. Whatever the truth is, maybe it's better not to find out what's really happening because it could be something very dark. But what do you think about this? Would you rather be a fox or a bunny? Comment number zoo so we can get to know you. The villain. A lot of people wonder why Bellweather did everything she did in the first movie. We thought the second adventure would answer that, but it didn't. The story of Zootopia 2 takes place a few months after the end of the first movie, but even then, we still don't know the villain's motives or what she truly wanted. The main theory is that former Mayor Bellweather believed predators were the big problem. You know how former Mayor Lionheart treated Bellweather? He treated her terribly, and he probably did the same to others. The villain herself said Lionheart only chose her as vice mayor because he wanted the vote of the smaller animals in the election. Besides that, she says the small ones need to unite. From the beginning of the movie, Judy herself suffers attacks from bigger animals. Bellweather must have suffered that all the time, and because of that, we can only imagine she created a revenge plan. Or maybe the villain knows that bigger predators never respected the smaller ones, and because of that, the only way for the smaller animals to be respected is to get rid of the big ones forever. Of course, in Bellweather's mind, she probably sees herself as a superhero, but we know she's evil, and even though she wants to protect the little ones, she does it the wrong way. But what about you? Do you believe in this theory? Or do you think the villain has a different motive? Father. One thing everyone needs to find out in the next movie is, where is Nick's father? When the first movie was released, we learned that the fox grew up only with his mother, but it was never answered whether Nick's father died or if he abandoned his wife and son. Whether he's a villain or a good guy who was unfairly imprisoned, that's possible because there's a serious issue in the world of Zootopia. Nobody trusts foxes. Everyone thinks they're mean and liars, which is why Nick had to enter the world of crime before meeting Judy. You might remember that that the ice cream shop clerk didn't even want to sell Nick an ice cream, even though he had money. If nobody likes foxes, what are the chances that many of them are suffering injustices in that world? Nick's father could be a character who was imprisoned for a crime he never committed, and honestly, that could become a great story for the next movie. If Nick's father appears, he could ask his son to investigate why he was arrested, and that would be another super fun mystery to watch. Is that the truth? We'll find out when Zootopia 3 hits theaters. Revenge. Are the reptiles trying to get revenge? This is one of the questions that has been leaving fans the most confused. If you watched Zootopia 2, then you know it was a snake, Gary's grandmother, who came up with the idea for the city's climate walls. Thanks to her, animals that need different temperatures can live in the same city. But there's a problem. Paubert's great-great-grandfather stole her idea and then buried the entire reptile district under the snow. That means the snakes, lizards, and turtles of Zootopia were completely kicked out of their homes just because a lynx wanted to get rich. Years later, that lynx's family tried to expand their own territory by destroying even more lives. For years, the reptiles were robbed and suffered all kinds of injustice. It's hard to imagine that none of the reptiles became bitter or angry, and that now one of them might want revenge for all those years of suffering. It's very possible that the villain of the next movie will be a lizard who hates mammals and now wants to destroy Zootopia. Will that be answered in the next film? Water. This movie showed that in the world of Zootopia, dolphins exist, meaning marine mammals are also part of the city, and at the same time, that means there probably is an area meant only for the animals that live in the water, but we've never seen where they live. Of course, Judy and Nick can't survive underwater, which is why Zootopia's aquatic area remains a mystery. But look at how interesting that could be. If the animals on land can't live underwater, what would stop there from being a villain that's maybe a dolphin or even a whale? Let's think about how this could happen. The first villain, Bellweather, wanted to solve the problem of big animals being cruel to the smaller ones. In this movie, the big problem was the reptiles, who were sadly expelled from their homes. But now what? What will the story of Zootopia 3 be? There's a big chance that the city of Zootopia is dumping trash into the water and making life for aquatic animals a real nightmare. Because of that, the villain of the next movie might want to sink Judy's city. Will that actually happen? The next movie could definitely be about this topic. Do you believe in this theory? The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? Love. Have you noticed that Zootopia is one of the few Disney movies without a romantic storyline? Many fans would actually love for Judy and Nick to be a couple. In this movie, there's even a scene right at the beginning where they pretend to be married. Because of that, one of the questions that needs answering is whether Judy or Nick have ever had a romantic past. Not with each other, but with other characters. Since Nick is a fox who lived in the criminal world for many years, we imagine his first girlfriend was also a female fox, and a master thief. And that's actually pretty interesting, don't you think? Because Nick's ex-girlfriend could be a villain he now has to arrest, since he's a police officer. But Judy might also have an ex-boyfriend, a bunny who lives in her old hometown and who isn't a very nice guy, but she would still be in love with him and wouldn't see how badly he treats her. The bunny would move to Zootopia, and his dream would be to win his ex-girlfriend back, but Nick would realize this bunny doesn't have good intentions. Will we watch a love story in the next movie? City or country? Is Zootopia a city or a country? This question needs to be answered in the next movie because to this day it hasn't been made clear. The leader of Zootopia is the mayor, so we assume it's a city, but cities usually belong inside something bigger, which we would call a country. Is there a president in this universe? That's an interesting question because if Zootopia is just a city within a larger country, then this world has a lot more to explore. And what if there's a bird city somewhere in this universe? That would explain the feather that appears at the end of the film. What do you think about that? Bogo. In the first movie, we learned that Sheriff Bogo is a tough guy, very serious and can even scare people, which makes sense because he's the chief of police. But deep down, he's a huge fan of the singer Gazelle and he loves to dance. Anyone who watched the spin-off series Zootopia Plus knows that the police chief signed up for a contest to become one of Gazelle's dancers, and he even performs. On top of that, in the second movie, we learned that he now has a Gazelle doll sitting on his desk. Chief Bogo only gets happy when he hears Gazelle's songs, and the big question is whether he'll ever leave the police force to follow his dream and become a dancer. The next movie is definitely going to answer that. Mother. And finally, the question that needs to be answered is, what happened to Nick's mother? In the first movie, we know he was raised by his mom, but we don't know what their lives were like. Is she still alive? Zootopia 3 needs to answer that because Nick's childhood is something fans really want to see. The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for for watching, and see you next time.